Right, so I'll start. So who are we? I'm Debra, and this is my husband, Mark. We've been married for 36 years. Yeah.
It's because Debra looks 20, isn't it? You can see I look a bit more mature.
Originally we're from Hertfordshire. That's where we met. Mark's background is Mark has been a social worker for about 30 odd years. He's now retired, and my background is I'm a nurse, and I recently finished working as a nurse February. My background is mental health, adults and children's nurse. So my last place of work was the Children's Hospice, East Anglia's Children's Hospice. So how did we get here?
You took me.
I should tell you how we got here with Samaritan's Purse. It was a church that we were attending at the time. We had, very similar to like what you've got today, a lady decided to show the church a video and talked more about Samaritan's Purse. And it was just seeing the video of the children opening up the boxes, the joy, the pure joy on their faces made me say, I want to do that. I want to make them happy. So for a few years, I think it was about probably 17 years, I've been packing shoe boxes on my own. And then I wanted to get my family involved, and I wanted to do more than just pack a shoebox. So I contacted Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child, and
straight away they're on the doorstep.
They then invited myself for an interview, and I said, right, Mark, you're coming with me too, because you're going to find out more as well. And he did. Mark was recruited as well, and
I literally just retired. I mean, it was 40 years of social work, and I just literally retired. And I think the secret from now, when you do retire, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm as busy now as I was.
So we became volunteers for Samaritan's Purse, Operation Christmas Child.
Trish, who's the regional manager, she's all over the world, but she attends Soul Church. People have mentioned Soul Church in here.
Oh, right. Okay. So the role that we've got, we will go around to churches. We support churches with packing shoe boxes, having packing parties. We provide a workshop that we do in September. But for the whole of Norfolk, it's just myself and Mark.
You now.
But it's been such a blessing to go to all these various churches and meet loving, fellow Christians who have a heart for God, and it's been such a blessing.
We're you've got to recognise in life that you can watch bad news every day, can't you? Yeah, you can hear it on your doorstep. But actually, we are blessed by being volunteers. So 1 minute, at Servants Church, 1 minute here, 1 minute at the first church that we went to was the United Reformed Church in Wroxham. I tell you what, they do lovely cakes. So we said, that's us, that's ours.
No, you said that.
Claim it. But they're just the heart. They go out they go out into the elderly people's homes. They have this every Thursday. They have this coffee morning like you do, guys. Don't underestimate what you do. Yeah, I come back to that reading. Be intentional about what we do and why we do it. So great joy that we get to go around meeting people and being encouraged, quite simply.
Yeah. So that's us in a nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, our whole story is I was in the seminary for the priesthood, really, and Debbie come and dragged me out of it. That's not quite true, actually. But we're from a very ecumenical background. The priests were holding on to me and Debbie was putting me down. No, but we also joined, we were in social work in Hertfordshire, Watford, and then we decided, we felt God called us. Debbie was from Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I was from the Catholic Church, and our wedding was in the Catholic Church, but it was a a joint service between those two denominations. And that was a miracle, I can tell you. All right, if you know some of the teachings, that's a miracle. But God did that. Yeah, and then God took us together. You know, I was mentioning to Alistair, but and Alistair said the same actually, that God took us to give up our jobs and join Youth with a Mission. Yep. So we had our honeymoon in Wales, and then next minute we're in the King's Lodge in Nuneaton with 200 people. Yeah, and the bed was a missionary. They had a bed on a stilts. And then we're going down for breakfast with 200 people. 1 minute we're in Wales having a lovely breakfast, just the two of us. Then it's 200 people like having breakfast. But God took us there in his wisdom to put us in a place where we receive the same teaching. God's wisdom in this. There's so much more that happens than we realise. God is bigger than us. Sorry.
No, I'm finished.
Have you?
Yeah.
You're never finished, darling woman. Where are we going now? So, we're here. I say young people, because that's everybody here. Anybody recognise what this is? Kids? I got the wrong glasses on. What's this? Oh, little lady. What is it? A shoebox. What would you normally find in a shoebox?
A shoe.
Shoes. Brilliant. Have you seen one of these? What, here? Well done. What about you, mate? You seen one of these here? Yeah, cool, good. Yeah, it's a shoebox, isn't it? Who can remember? Who's an older? That's it. Can you remember? Matura. Can you remember the toys that you had as a young child, teenager? Can you remember them? A long time ago. Could you have fitted all your toys in this shoebox? Probably not. I know I couldn't have done. My mum and dad got me a kayak, a canoe, so I couldn't have got that. and a push bike, yeah.
When the children actually receive the shoebox, some of the children, it's their very first gift that they've actually had. And some of them will actually, you'll see them, they'll hang on to the box. Some of them will giggle. Some of them will actually open it up and take a gift out and pass the box on, because they don't realise that the whole box is for them. And that is the power of the box.
The ministry's been going for 30 years. 1993? 1993, this part of it, yeah. And there's the videos and there's the stories that just say how powerful that is.
Yeah.
They can't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stories, like one little girl, she took out a rubber and she smelt that, and she said that's the first time she smelt something lovely, because she lived in a war zone. We've got another little boy who, Caribou, he's from Africa. He lost all of his parents, and he said he became an orphan, and he said when he received a box, it gave him a sense of belonging, and it was the first time that he had something that belonged to him. There's another story where a lad was given a box, and there was a pack of pencils in that box, and he went to the person who handed him that box, and he gave them a pencil, and the person said, no, that's for you. And he said, no, you don't understand. This is the first time I've been able to give somebody something. So never underestimate what you put in the box, because, I'm jumping, but the power of prayer. I'm always amazed. God always amazes me. There was a little boy who, his dad was repairing a school, and he needed some tools, but he didn't have a tool at all. But his little son prayed for some tools for his dad. And there's a photo, I can never get over it. There's a photograph of this little boy who received a shoebox, and he's got a hammer. So I don't know how the hammer got through customs, but God does.
It's a big hammer,
It is incredible. So never underestimate the power of prayer. Sorry, I was just going to say, because God knows exactly what child will receive that box. and there's stories after stories of children receiving, like a little girl. Sorry, Mark, I'll go on. There's a little girl who needed a pair of shoes. She had holes in her shoes, and I mean, you tell the story better than I do, but she went to the church, and they gave her a box, but she was a sad little girl, wasn't she? Was it Romania? I think it was.
She is. No, not Romania. She's
Latvia.
Latvia. As well as the other person.
But she got a box, and she went to the corner, and she opened up the box, and inside was a pair of brand new shoes, perfectly fitting her little feet.
There is repeatedly messages of how a shoebox delivered to a child ends up being something that they prayed for. I'm not saying that happens every time, but what happens every time a child receives a shoebox is that they receive a moment of love. It interrupts the hurt. Yeah? And you will hear, again, I'm probably going into what we're going to say as well, but you will hear all these children will say, I cannot believe someone's done this for me. You're encouraged to pray for every item you put in that box. I don't profess to do that. I try and do it in the shop. I'll pick this one up and put it, And we now collect things all year, so our wardrobes are full of stuff, like, you know what I mean? Because cost of living is hard, guys. We have to recognise that. But what this does is amazing. Alex was one of the first young men from Rwanda to actually receive a shoebox in the early stages, yeah? And Alex saw things that no human should see. No child should see, yeah? And he had to move into various families to try and escape, keep himself alive, and ended up in an orphanage, yeah? And you know, when in them days before we had the pre-printed ones, and the other ones come in all shapes and sizes, I can assure you, the first thing they saw, an orphanage of 200 children, they saw these colourful wrapped boxes arriving by cart, and they're looking out their windows, and that's the first beautiful thing they saw, you know. But he now goes on, as you'll see from other people, to serve and do what we do. And he tells his testimony, because he said, I wanted to hate, I didn't want to forgive, I wanted to hurt those who hurt me. Yeah, he serves now, and he said, yeah, all the items in the box eventually were gone. Yeah, you know what his favourite item was? A comb. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. You know, his favourite item was a comb. A lot of the children go, as you'll see, wow, over a toothbrush, you know. But he said what this gave him and what it signposted him to was Jesus.
And we are meeting more and more children who are now adults who always give their testimony of how powerful the shoebox has been. I mean, we had a young lady, she lives in Milton Keynes at the minute, but she originally came from India. Cynthia, her name is, and she was talking to Thetford, the church in Thetford, and it was powerful for me just to see her open up her little bag, and she was pulling out the contents that she had received in her shoebox, and this was what I was given, this is what my brother was given. It used to be a skateboard there, but it was so powerful just hearing her testimony.
There's a lady in America, she's 90, and she does 1,000 shoeboxes every year. You know, there's a video on it. It might even be more than 1,000, there's a video of her. But all ages are valued, but people here, young people here, I'm looking at Dad again, young, we're all young, but young people. Your church, your world needs you. You're valued, you're special. I was you once, and I'm so glad somebody taught me or gave me the opportunity to serve. Your country, your world needs you, your church needs you, you're special, all right? So hold on, whatever you can do to help is important in life, all right?
I'm not sure if you know that the shoebox is not just a shoebox, it is a way for the gospel to be shared as well. So churches will usually invite Operation Christmas Child in, and they will provide the resources, the training, And the children, once they receive their boxes, they're invited to attend a 12-session discipleship training, The Greatest Journey, which tells them about Jesus. I mean, there was a little lad who, a little lad called Calvary, I think he's called, from Africa. He is a deaf lad, and he used to sleep on the street, and people used to hit him because they could creep up on him, and he wouldn't be aware when he was sleeping. So he was taken into an orphanage, and they gave him The Greatest Journey. Now, this little man, he couldn't read, he couldn't write, but within this book, he could see the pictures, and he saw the pictures of Jesus praying. So he copied it, he prayed, and he found God, and he found love. So there's other stories where a child has read this book, and the parents have been opposed of it, but there was one dad who was an alcoholic. He picked it up, started reading it, and he turned away from the drink, and he found God as well.
I think in churches, I know I was growing up, I heard lots of testimonies. And I'd encourage you, if you're having a tough day, look on the website and hear the testimonies, because it's full of it, of children. And stories is the wrong word. They're true. They're not fictional. They're people's lives who've been transformed by an act of love. But we sort of say, when I say think inside the box, I sort of think of the direct work that it does about a shoebox going to children. When I say think outside the box, I think about being here today with you and you learning to give, learning to celebrate what you do. Yeah, I think about the fact that the Samaritan's Purse will go to a country by invitation and take all these resources that we take for granted, Bibles, in their language, etc. So there's so much more to the ministry than we even realise ourselves now that we're,
Yeah. So, children, with this video,
and adults,
and adults as well, but I'm focusing on the children and young people. See how many wows you can count in this next video.
Some might be quiet. Wow. Who can say wow? Wow. And how many boxes last year?
Oh, how many boxes? Last year, England actually sent 237,000, and that went to countries like Asia, Romania, Ukraine,
Balkans.
the Balkans. I always forget the Balkans. Yeah.
238,000.
Yes. Plus, yeah. So
and
lovely.
Coventry's our...
Coventry is our processing centre. We're actually going down with our grandchildren. We've got 2 grandchildren, so that they can experience as well. But it is a wonderful experience. Anybody can go, and it's not just during the period of when the shoeboxes go, because the other part of Operation Christmas Child is Samaritan's Purse, and that's where they will send kits to countries.
I'll show you them.
But you'll touch on that.
Yep.
But it's a brilliant experience. It's cold because it's, as you can imagine, it's a large warehouse, but it's a fun experience where all the boxes that have been packed, we have to unpack every one of them. We have to check every single box that the items in there are correct. And if we take, so like when I say correct, like if someone's put toothpaste in, we have to take that out because you can no longer send toothpaste because some countries consider that as a food. But what's taken out then gets sent to other charities in the local area.
It's beautiful there because anyone can come in, faith or no faith, or other faith.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were there, and there was a lady who came in with her 2 daughters, and she was helping and doing all the packing and everything like that. Started having a bit of a good old banter with her, and got to talk to her. We ended up having a nice pray with her somewhere. You know, her husband is dying at home, in palliative care, and she was there. She was there with her daughters, giving. I tell you what, that really touched us. You know, and just a remarkable thing that people can do. But yeah, we were blessed to sort of pack. We were there 3 days last year, 9,000 boxes or something, wasn't it, into the lorry and bless the boxes with everybody, and off they go. You know what I mean? So it was a wonderful experience. Just going to You've heard a lot about Operation Christmas Child, but I just want to quickly give you an overview about Samaritan's Purse. So Samaritan's Purse started in about 1970, okay, from another Christian organisation. All right, the purse bit comes out from the Good Samaritan parable that we're going to hear shortly, and it is about that ongoing support. You know, I recognise as a Christian that I needed support when I was growing up, and it's ongoing, isn't it? I need it now. Yeah. And what can we do to actually support people? So, Samaritan's Purse is the main organisation, all right, and it has so many other ministries that you're about to see on a video. Okay. Nobody has a monopoly on good. There's lots of other good ministries going on in the world from all churches, but Samaritan's Purse is what it's just going to show you, that overarching bit. Okay. So, and the video, the song to it is called A Little Less Like Me, A Little More Like Jesus. And I kind of will link that up in a minute shortly as we talk a bit more. Is that okay, video? I'm just going to say a prayer, please. Heavenly Father, just thank you for what we've seen. Thank you that you're a God that loves, a God that calls us to pray. In Jesus' name, amen. The video shows the overarching work of Samaritan's Purse, really, guys. And I wish I was now 50 years younger because I joined. One of the things that we've really been blessed by this working with Samaritan's Purse, and again, there's many other organisations, is just that it started with prayer with us. Yeah, every time we've met, it started with prayer. We've been in all sorts of ecumenical backgrounds where people have asked us to do things. I was in a Baptist church and they asked us to take the Sunday school. And, being a Catholic background, I could have been teaching Catholicism till the cows come home, couldn't I? But I was just teaching them about Jesus. Yeah? But, Samaritan's Purse sat with us, they interviewed us, they prayed with us, and they looked at our giftings and our experiences as well. Yeah? But young people of all ages, young people, we can do much in this world. What did you see in the video that was sad, guys? What did you see in the video that was sad? Destruction. Yeah. Destruction. You saw a lot of, and that destruction can come from war, can come from natural disaster. Samaritan's Purse is always, waiting to go in, to be invited in to do that, really. Thankfully, Operation Christmas Child, having gone into countries for many years like Ukraine, as soon as the war hit in Ukraine, the churches in Ukraine shouted to Samaritan's Purse, and Inna, who we know, and others, she ended up coming to England through Samaritan's Purse, because she had nowhere to live, that kind of thing. So yeah, we see despair, we see broken, we see hurting, we see a giving up. Yeah, in those faces, just a little video, you see that giving up, that pain. We see illness, didn't we? We saw hunger, we saw war, disaster, and we see cold, no food, yeah? We see those things really, yeah? But what do we also see in that video? Love. Yeah. Yeah. Joy. Yeah. Lots of, yeah. So vital. Hope, yeah. Human touch. You just said hugs. Who said hugs? Yeah. Human touch. COVID was awful. Yeah, we mustn't forget that bit, that human touch. We become a bridge, don't we, sometimes, by that touch. And that could be from anybody. We saw serving. We saw kindness. Touch has been mentioned. We saw food and shelter. Basic things being put back in place for people. Medical care. Did you see the little T-shirt? Children's Heart Project? The little child. So out of Samaritan's Purse, they set up and many children who need life-saving heart surgery are flown back to countries with their carers and families and receive that heart surgery. So things come out of different things. We see a man receiving a Bible. And you see tears in his eyes. He looks broken. He receives a Bible. And he's joyed at receiving that. We see the compassion, and we see the shoeboxes. We saw that as well, didn't we? And all ages serving in fellowship. But we see so much prayer in there, really. So this is the range of the work of Samaritan's Purse. All those projects from agriculture, you saw a little seedling. It's all about empowering people. It's about lifting people. It's about loving them, etc. and giving them hope, yeah? Again, no one has a monopoly on good. We're all called to serve. And sometimes we might be the only Bible somebody ever gets to read. And that might be us. Sometimes the only touch. I know Mother Teresa in London touched a down and out on the street, and he said, "Oh, the touch of a human hand." How many down and outs would say to you, "No one asked me what my name is," for want of a better word. Deb's just going to read to us the Good Samaritan parable. Sorry, are we all right for?
Right, so the reading taken from Gospel of Luke, chapter 10, 25 to 37. On one occasion, an expert in the law stood up to test Jesus. "Teacher," he asked, "what must I do to inherit eternal life?" "What is written in the law?" he replied. "How do you read it?" He answered, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with your mind, and love your neighbour as yourself." "You have answered correctly," Jesus replied. "Do this, and you will live." But he wanted to justify himself. So he asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbour?" In reply, Jesus said, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, they beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed on the other side. So too a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he travelled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. He went to him and bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. The next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. 'Look after him,' he said, 'and when I return, I will reimburse you for all the extra expenses you have.' Which of these 3 do you think was a neighbour to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers?" The expert in the law replied, "The one who had mercy on him." Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise."
Just going to share a few thoughts on the text, but also we're going to watch a video, a testimony, all right, to link in with this. Yeah, Samaritan's purse comes out of that parable, the purse bit, the ongoing care that we all need, the ongoing discipleship that we must get alongside people and keep offering that support and encouragement. Comes back to that scripture, Hebrews at the beginning, encourage one another. Yeah. So we see in this parable, really, the impact of evil, don't we? Yeah. And unfortunately, we continue to see that impact. These children receiving the shoeboxes see that on them, the impact on them and their families. Some more than others, but nevertheless, the impact of sadness and evil in the world. Children receiving shoeboxes are often hurting and alone and broken of hope, as we've said, unseen, and they need something to belong to. So many of the testimonies say that, "I don't feel I've got anything to belong to." Yeah. Just like that person in the parable, perhaps, felt alone, people walking past. We see how some pass by, don't we? And this can be us, me. I know in my life I've at times walked past. And you can't beat yourself up about that. But I seek to use Jesus is the fuel that encourages us to try and give. The song, "A little less like me, a little bit more like Jesus," yeah? We don't know if anyone saw the purse was given to the innkeeper, said he would return. So the message in there I'm saying is that we need to let people know and see the love that we give, really. What we do. You as a church show what you do. We use Network Norfolk to celebrate, not just for Samaritan's Purse, but for the churches that we go to and say thank you for that church. That's their serving people, all through Norfolk. We want to create curiosity in people. You know, there's a lot of talk about now, how do we evangelize in a way that's actually challenging to, where people are very busy or comfortable. But how do we get alongside people? And I think one of the things for me is about, we want to prompt people's curiosity. We want them to look in on us and say, what is it they've got? Like the early church. People were curious about the level of love. I know I'm here today because I kept meeting so many loving Christians. And it just helped me say, what is it they've got? So we want to do that, really, in the work that we do. We want to show that love, really. There's a lovely story about the shoeboxes. A neighbour who, a lady from a church, decided to use the box as a form of evangelism, which it is, and actually just go and take a shoebox to a neighbour. She went to the neighbour, knocked on the door, and said, do you mind donating a shoebox? And the lady thought, oh yeah, I can give you a shoebox. She was going to go back into the house and get one of the shoeboxes like most people had in the cupboards, a shoebox, yeah? And she, oh no, you don't quite understand me. Do you mind filling this shoebox? You know, for children, and told her roughly what happens. The shoeboxes are sent with gifts to children in need in other countries, etc. And she said, oh yeah, I'll do that. And the time came for, she told her where to drop the boxes off. The lady and her daughters parked outside the church, and she said to her daughter, take the shoebox into the church, just drop it in there, like, you know. The daughter went in, and then she came back about a few minutes later and saying, Mum, you need to come in here. And the mum came into that church and actually saw all these colourful shoeboxes, felt the love of the people that are there. And this happened just in Norfolk recently to somebody I know who called into a church who was having a really bad day, and she came out feeling guilty that she was moaning about taking the shoeboxes in because the church received her in love. Yeah, and it's the same with this lady. That lady then goes on to become a member of that church with her daughters from a simple act of knocking on. Is evangelization complicated? Perhaps it doesn't have, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. Yeah? But getting people's curiosity, really, and I'm using that word because you'll hear that in the video in a minute. We belong to a building society in Norwich, and actually in our needing to meet with them to talk about our businesses, we shared what we do. That lady in that shop, every time we go in, she throws her arms around us. You know, it's a building site. and she packed shoeboxes. They also collected items, which we took to Oak Grove so they could have it for their packing party. And she said, when I saw her a few weeks ago, she said, can I go to the packing party next year at Oak Grove? She'd already told us she's not a Christian. But God love her for who she is anyway. But yes, curiosity is going to take us to that. Just going to watch this video. It's very close to me because I spent many years working in fostering. And Elizabeth from Latvia is going to tell you her testimony. All right, so we'll just watch that and then I'll talk a little bit about that. Very quickly, there's a poem that I'm familiar with, which links in with this story. I'm not going to tell the whole poem. I want you to imagine that you're in an auction room. Can you do that, guys? In an auction room. And I'm holding an old violin, okay? And the auctioneer is saying, what is it worth, this violin? Yeah? £1? Do I hear £1? £2. £2. Oh, we got £2 over here. There we go. Not bad, eh? £2. And then suddenly from the back of the room, a grey-haired gentleman comes forward and picks up the violin and tightens the bow and plays a melody, pure and sweet as an angel sings. It goes back to his chair. The auctioneer then, with a voice quiet and low, says, "What am I bid now, good folks? Do I hear £1,000?
Yes.
Yes. £1,000. Come on, pay up now. You're in trouble. £2,000. The story's a lot more. What changed the worth of the violin? The touch of the master's hand. The touch of the master's hand changed the worth of a violin. Do you know it? So Elizabeth, as I said, it brings a lot of thoughts to my heart, really, her testimony. What do we see? What do we see in Elizabeth's life there? You know, she describes not feeling any love at home. No judgment, but she doesn't feel love. She ends up in an orphanage, looked after, but not feeling love. Yeah? She ends up in a foster home and looked after again, but just not feeling love, really. So quite lonely, isn't it? Quite lost in that sense. But people play parts and roles that they don't even realise they're doing at times, yeah? And she was encouraged to stand in the line to receive that shoebox, yeah? And for her, that shoebox was a turning point, really, wasn't it? You know, it was a turning point for the Good Samaritan. Somebody showed love, yeah? And, you know, she received that shoebox. I love to hear her testimony because actually it just echoes so many things that perhaps are true, that actually we can bring God to people, and then we leave it to Him. And she describes it being a few years later, wasn't it? And she pulled it out again. But the book that Debra showed you, the little booklet, had got her curiosity. So I think that's one of the words that I want to leave with you today, curiosity. Let's people be curious about who we are. And what did she say? I started to pray. She started to pray, yeah? I loved to hear when she said she just had joy in watching her siblings open up the box first. What a loving soul, you know, there to be doing that, yeah? So, you know, just it takes time. We can do what we do, and then we leave it to prayer and to God to anoint and to bless. But actually, that shoebox, like yours, your boxes that you've sent, will end up in the hands of a child. An individual child. Yeah? With your prayers, with your gifts, with your boxes, ones that you may do in the future. Yeah? You saw the little teddy bear that she'd kept, you know? I mean, you know, if someone gave that to me, rather than giving me a kayak, a canoe, I would have been a bit upset, I think. Yeah? But for her, why is someone doing this for me? Yeah. So we see that impact, you know, and the curiosity in her, and she's gone from broken, lonely, to hoping, to praying, and you see her with the badge and the video, and there are many, many serving. What a wonderful thing to do. I pray for the children that I worked in children's homes, and how we tried to move them towards feeling valued for who they are. You know, what a wonderful testimony to see these people doing that. We see a lot of that going on in Norfolk. So again, thinking outside the box, there's so much going on. There's a pastor in Norfolk who was from Romania. He received a shoebox when he was a little child. His boys received a shoebox when they had nothing. Yeah, I've just met with 2 priests, come back from Zimbabwe. He remembers cleaning his teeth with a stick. And when we talked about a toothbrush, you think, oh, I know what you mean. Yeah? So there's so much going on in that work. So just to conclude, what do we want you to know? We want you to know that each shoebox takes God's love. And also that we're here to help you in your ministry should you carry on doing this. All right? What do we want you to do? Pray, please. Pray for our ministry. Pray for more workers, as Debra's mentioned. We want to build up a team. So many blessings are coming in Norfolk that we could tell you about, but we want to build up a team in Norfolk and encourage this ministry like other things. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? Well, children need hope. They need love more than ever in this world, and that's on our doorstep as well. So you can feel loved to actually be allowed and valued that I need you in this church to do something. You're not just hidden at the back or whatever. Yeah. And we're called to share the gospel, really, the joy of the gospel. That's what we're called to do. Yeah. And this is one very joyful way of doing it. So please pray for us. It's a blessing to be here. We get, as I said, so much encouragement just to see God at work in his church in Norfolk. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. We're talking about the word humble at the beginning, but yeah, round of applause. It does help to humble us, but brings on our gratitude as well. And we just want to thank you both so much. So if we could just have a short time now, just so a few people could pray now for the work and for Debra and Mark. Thank you.